The worldwide Canadian humiliation tour never seems to stop. Here's Patrick Bet-David. Canada politicians have lost their minds. A new bill, if passed, considers parts of the Bible hate speech. The bill may remove or weaken a religious exemption. I hope Canadians conservatives are making noise about Bill C9. Patrick Bet-David, of course, very popular content creator, podcaster in America. Of course, Canadians aren't making enough noise about this. Props and shout out to those who are, but I think Patrick Bet-David has a read on Canada that's accurate, that the conservatives of this country are way too passive. I've talked about that before, so I won't get into it right now, but we'll play the clip, and I'll also be weaving in some other stuff. Here we go.
Canada just, in 2025, I won't say October, maybe even earlier than that, a couple guys, this guy right here, they started working on saying some of the stuff in the Bible is hate speech. Okay? Truly. Some of the stuff in the Bible is hate speech. And here's what he had to say. Go for it, Rob.
In this case, the Bible, but there are other religious texts that say the same thing.
I'm going to play an extended version of that clip here, although it's actually not that long, but let's take a look.
I just want to dig in a bit about the concept of good faith, Mr. Ross. In Leviticus, Deuteronomy, Romans, there's other passages, there is clear hatred towards, for example, homosexuals. I don't understand how the concept of good faith could be invoked if someone were literally invoking a passage from, in this case, the Bible, but there are other religious texts that say the same thing, and somehow say that this is good faith. I mean, clearly there are situations in these texts where these statements are hateful. They should not be used to invoke or be a defense, and there should perhaps be discretion for prosecutors to press charges. I just want to understand what your notion of good faith is in this context where there are clearly passages in religious texts that are clearly hateful.
There are clearly passages in religious texts that are clearly hateful. The arrogance and the self-importance to say that with a straight face? Who are you to be saying that? That is incredible. Who would say that?
Faith is in this context where there are clearly passages in religious texts that are clearly hateful.
Getting back to this clip here.
In this context where there are clearly...
Yeah, when you have a country without a constitution, this is what happens. I mean, they don't have
We have a constitution. It's just different than America.
I mean, they don't have the First Amendment.
Let me read this, and then I'm going to come to you.
We do not have a First Amendment. We have similar things, but yeah.
Let me read this, and I'm going to come to you. So you're hearing this, okay? So here we go. Canada wants to make quoting the Bible illegal. This is The Spectator, 2 days ago. Easter's almost here, and Canada's Liberal government has chosen the sacred season to display its utter contempt for Christianity. It's currently forcing through the outrageous Bill C9, which could make it a hate crime to quote from the sections of the Bible. More than 40 civil and religious groups have asked that for the bill's language be clarified and its scope more carefully defined so that religious texts would not be subject to hate crime legislation, but all in vain. After a hot debate in the House of Commons, the Liberals high-handedly ended a conservative filibuster. In fact, fast-tracked the bill. It's now been sent to the Senate to decide if Canada is a kind of a country that wants to turn quoting St. Paul into a criminal act.
You look at Canada during COVID, they were going after churches like crazy. And again, I think this is bigger than politics. I think it's spiritual. I think that Canada has an attack on truth across the board.
That's true. The attack on truth in Canada, I certainly agree with that. Here's Justin Trudeau in 2021.
I want to talk about the heartbreaking news that 215 children were found buried at the former Kamloops residential school. 215 children.
Okay, this is still a taboo subject in Canada. ChatGPT, were 215 bodies found buried at Kamloops residential school? Short answer, no. 215 bodies have not been physically found or exhumed at Kamloops. And that's ChatGPT. I mean, I'd say for the most part, a neutral thing. It's still a taboo subject, though, in Canada. Like, I don't think if you said that on CBC, it would go over well. Getting back to this clip, it's also very sad how Americans are kind of the protectors of Canada. I mean, it doesn't fully work because Canada is not getting better, but the American voices are stronger than many of the big Canadian voices, sadly, on a lot of this stuff.
The world is seeing an attack on truth across the board. Tom has been touching on it. And I think it's a spiritual war. If you can destroy the idea of gender, if you can destroy the idea of man having value, woman having value, the sanctity of a child. Like, when you think about how out of control abortion is, all these things, and now they're attacking the very scripture that's meant to be spread to protect against those evils. They're doing it for a reason. And that's the
Interesting take here.
thing I fear most in the world. And I think people are met now with a binary. Anyone watching, you're met with a binary choice now. You're either going to go down the path of moral relativism, which will lead you to nihilism, a complete destruction of truth, and it will leave you in a void that is empty, a dark void. It will lead to depression. We're seeing it. It will lead to anxiety. It'll lead to all the nihilistic behavior we're seeing, or you will head to a path of truth.
Finishing off my video with just a short clip of Crowder talking about this same story, this drama around Bill C-9.
It also removes the exemption from hate speech laws in Canada that reads, if in good faith the person expressed or attempted to establish by an argument an opinion on a religious subject or an opinion based on a belief in a religious text. Meaning, it used to be, yeah, well, obviously it's not hate speech if someone is reading from the Bible or, God forbid, the Quran, but I'm sure they'll have a carve out there. So
don't mention that.
Yeah, no, it's inconvenient. The Justice Minister, Sean Fraser, said, so it's okay, that removing the religious exemption, it actually doesn't violate the freedom of religion.
The amendment that the Bloc is proposing will, in my view, in no way, shape, or form, prevent a religious leader from reading their religious texts. It will not criminalize faith, and to suggest otherwise, in my view, is a perversion of the values that the major religions in this country and around the world stand for. Somebody who grew up in the
Man, who are you to say that? Canadian politicians have massive egos in so many cases.
For somebody who grew up in the Catholic Church and read scripture on Sundays my whole life, I can tell you that I don't remember any messages about religion telling you to hate thy neighbor. We are dealing with charges that touch on the willful promotion of hate. That is not a value that the world's major religions stand for, nor would I accept such a change.
Right. He hasn't
define it.
He's not familiar with any religious texts.
That tell you to hate your neighbor.
Right. Yeah. Well, neither am I. I am familiar with texts that say sex outside of a holy covenant, the union of marriage, is wrong. Also, quite a few about specifically sodomy.
Yeah.
Somewhere abomination occurs. And I know you're going to say, going back to the Old Testament, there's plenty in the New Testament as well.
Yep.
Oh, you just hurt me.
Is that illegal now to say in Canada if this bill, which I think the Senate usually passes things like this, right? Once this Bill C-9 goes through, what Crowder just said there, if he said that in Canada, is that a crime?
I am familiar with texts that say sex outside of a holy covenant, the union of marriage, is wrong. Also, quite a few about specifically sodomy.
Yeah.
Somewhere abomination occurs. And I know you're going to say, going back to the Old Testament, there's plenty in the New Testament as well.
Yep.
In 6 months in Canada, is that a crime? Anyway, with that said, I'll finish my video. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. Have a great day.